球環境戦略研究機関が主催する持続
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Conference on the Sustainable Asia Pacific, or ISAP 2022, sponsored by ARGES. We would like to get started with the session under the theme of the accelerating implementation of the SDGs to put SDGs on the ground. The first theme session is the solar sharing on abandoned farmlands as a key accelerator to create regional, circular, and ecological spheres. Yugo Tanaka from the Kansai Center of the ARGES. Sorry, my audio has broken up. So we have the 3 panelists. Thank you so much for your time. This session lasts for 16 minutes. I hope that you all enjoy the session. Now, before we actually get to the speakers, I would like to set the frame for this session. Again, this session takes up the climate change and biodiversity. And one of the keys we think is to better utilize the abandoned farmlands. In Japan especially, there are many farmlands that have been abandoned because of the aging population of the farmers and also no next generation carrying on the agriculture. So in these farmlands, the biodiversity was preserved because farmers were working the land. But since the farmers have abandoned these lands, we have increase in the vermin and harmful insects. And these vermin and harmful insects that do further damage on lands around that. And this is not just the agricultural farmlands, but has also adverse impacts on the forestry and others. So what used to be farmlands or abandoned farmlands, there are some initiatives to put solar panels on those lands to create the local energy. But people are not doing that. They continue to rely on the thermal generation, which further impacts the climate change. So one of the solutions is to do this from the ground up approach from the local or regional areas. So how can we better utilize these abandoned farmlands? And one of the idea is the solar sharing, that put the solar panels on those farmlands. And this will lead to generating energy and also food in these regions and local areas. Now, in Japan, we're beginning to see quite a few cases, and these initiatives must replace the conventional generation of powers and the consumption of food and others. So we believe that we have to scale up those local examples. And by doing that, we also have to change the people's mindset and how people think of those renewable energies. And in order for us to change people's mindset, we think the more a wider range of examples, not just from Japan and from all over the world. And so that will be a cascading effect, which will lead to a transitioning on even larger scale. So today, we would like to introduce some success stories, starting from the Takarazuka Sumire Power Generation Company. And there's an initiative that we are working in the city of Awaji to further scale up this power generation from Sumire Power Generation. And we also have Mr. Noriaki Suga, Director of Hyogo Prefecture, to join in the panel discussion to discuss how we can further spread this type of activities and initiatives. So without taking any of your time, we would like to get to the first panelist. So the first speaker is the President of Takarazuka Sumire Power Generation Company, Ms. Yasuko Inoue.
共有させていただきます。
Now I'd like to share my screen. My name is Inoue from Takarazuka Sumire Power Electric Company.
はい、出ましたでしょうか。
If you can see the screen.
再度、宝
Once
塚
again,
の代表取締役
I'm the representative director of Inoue. I'm the representative director of the Takarazuka Sumire Power Electric Company. My time is limited, so I might need to skip some of the contents, but hopefully you can see the resume later on. So I'm representing this company, Takarazuka Sumire Electric Power, but I was not always wanting to be the manager of the power company to purchase the safe food. Over 30 years, I have worked with other colleagues, and currently I am serving as a Hyogo Prefecture Renewable Energy Advisor, but I'm no expert in this matter. This Takarazuka Sumire Power Electric Power Company is a civilian company. It's a very, very small operator. Our business is very small in scale, but how we manage money and other things I've learned so much over the past 10 years. This is an overview of the Takarazuka City. Takarazuka City may give you a very good impression. However, 2/3 of the Takarazuka City is covered by the trees and mountains. And of the 225,000 population, most of the people is living in the city center, and in a remote area, there is only 2,300 people living, and aging rate is over 46%. However, but this remote area is abundant in renewable energy. So I started this business. So I started out with food. So the consumer and the producer related activities I learned would be impacted by the changes in the era. And I saw the agriculture was deteriorating. So I really wanted to save that. So in 2013, I came up with the solar sharing idea. And in 2016, I implemented the idea in reality. So what is solar sharing? Well, we use the solar energy, and that is shared for electricity supply and for producing food. And what we are doing is that in addition to operating, in the civilian allotment farm, we set up the solar panels. And actually, the farmland is managed by the landlord, and then civilians are the ones, citizens are the ones that create this installation, and we took care of the solar panels. However, this is only a model case in Japan, and this is very easy to understand. So there's a people who generate the power, and that's Takarazuka Sumire, and the consumers are the users of the cooperative, because we sell all the electricity to cooperative. And also the landlord is managing this farmland. And also there are people who are growing crops. And landlord is very important because he manages the land. What is the purpose of the solar sharing? That is to protect farmland and agriculture. That is the premise that we should never forget. Last year, this was set up. So the electricity and our relationship need to be clarified so that it tells the people that the consumers are very much related to these activities. So we urged Corpu Electricity to set up this signboard, and it took over 1 year to set up the signboard. In the Nishitani district of Takarazuka City, there are 8 units of solar sharing, producing more than 400 kilowatt of electricity, and there are a lot of crops being produced. And also, it's not only the civilian allotment farmland, and there is other farming activities, and electricity are all sold to cooperative in Kobe. And after farming activities, environmental learning after the farm work takes place. Currently, we are joined by Kinki University and Ryukoku University's faculty members to organize these learning sessions. And the cooperative members would participate, and they learn about the environment and also about the food situation and how to manage the regional economy. So those are the topics covered in this lectures for citizens, and it's very well received. This year, we had a damage caused by a mole. The moles, if they have the one mole for the land of the 100 square meters, that mole can damage entire crop of that area. And then after the mole damages a crop, and then the rats would join, mice would join. So initially, it was very difficult to avoid the damage of the vermes. But on the 20th of October, when we did trial harvesting, we had a very good sweet potatoes. Now, this is a solar sharing promotion federation activities pictures. I am one of the director of this federation, so I joined this festival organized by this federation. The solar sharing challenges are actually manifested in this festival. You can see a lot of people gathering here. However, this is the first festival over the 3 years, and also this is the mega solar sharing scenery. It's a very vast land area, and this used to be abandoned farmland, and with a lot of investment, they cultivated the land again, and then the agriculture cooperative and the power companies and also companies such as Patagonia joined in this effort to maintain this farmland and solar sharing. So they dig up the mountains and created this farmland, and it's 80-hectare farmland, and it's a very much silt, gray land, and a lot of people struggle to grow any crops. So that's why they left, and then this became abandoned. So the beginning was quite wrong. How they started cultivating land was quite mismanaged. So that is the challenge we actually saw. So what we are doing is very much related to the activities of the community. So regional circular and ecological sphere embraces a lot of activities, eating, living. Electricity is one of the many factors that are related to this sphere. And if one factor would stumble, then it would repercussion be felt by the entire regional economy. So the sweet potatoes harvested are now used by the Ginza Honey Bee Project. It's a joint project to make the shochu distilled spirits, and Ginza Imojin is the brand name. And then last year we introduced Takarazuka Imojin Shochu brand. So this Imojin Shochu are connecting Hokkaido, Tokyo, Nagoya, Sapporo, and Takarazuka. So all these people involved in these activities in each location are producing the shochu of their own brand. But what I felt was that it is very important to build the network, not only beekeeping. Well, this is beekeeping activities, because I got to know the Ginza beekeepers. I was able to learn about beekeeping. The bees, honey bees, are one of the environmental indicators. If there are a lot of honeybees, it means the environment is in a good condition. And last year we started keeping the Western honeybees, and those honeybees can tell me how much agricultural chemicals are used, because that would impact their survival. Now, Japanese honeybees are also kept in Takarazuka, and you can see this at the launch of the old hotel in Takarazuka City, Wakamizu, and people will be interested in what's happening here, and that would really enhance the value of the area itself, and hotel is very happy. Now, this is about the tight supply of the electricity. Before the upper house election, this article was carried by newspapers. So how to decarbonate, that is the topic, and there's a lot of debate about the best way forward. And at that time, I think I was a little bit too optimistic about the future. So this is about the community building with renewable energy. What I always say is that we need to think about the sustainable society for the next generation. In order to deliver that, there are a lot of available tools, and we really need to think about what kind of tools that we need to employ. So as for the renewable energies, be it solar sharing, one of the things we can do is to utilize the abundant farm land. However, even the good farmland are not used nowadays. And also what farmlands mean would be different depending on where you are. And in Takarazuka City, the farmland near the mountains tend to get abandoned. However, even in the farmland in the good locations are now abandoned. And then the industrial waste would be dumped there, and some of the farmlands are in such a calamity, and how to revitalize that is very, very important. And what our colleagues are doing on this matter is quite surprising, remarkable, and they are using the organic crops for these farmlands. And so if you only pursue the profit, we would get nowhere. So after 100 years, what will be the world we would like to see? And then we realized that the solar sharing is just one of the tools. But through solar sharing, what we would like to convey, what we would like to express is quite important. So my aspiration through the solar sharing is to protect agriculture. I talked about the moles, and vermes and pests need to be removed, eradicated. I took the hunting license, so I need to face up the challenge of those vermes, and I would interfere between the people and those vermes in order to protect the farmlands. This hunting license is another tool that you can utilize. But once I hunt any animals, I want to make sure that the meat will be consumed properly. So the next question is, what kind of world do you envisage? I talked about the shochu manufacturing, and people may wonder what will be the impact on economy. Yes, there is an economy. It starts with the sweet potatoes, but from sweet potatoes, we manufacture shochu, and over sweet potatoes, we talk with others to discuss the future, and that's very important. And also, further very important question is, what action would you take to achieve this? You need to be resolved to do something. You need to resolve to do something. Otherwise, without your determination and resolution, you will not be taken seriously. Solar sharing is a mere tool. However, it is gives it is a tool that can be seen in a positive light. Of course, people would look at this in a different light, but hopefully that we would be meticulous in promoting the solar sharing, because I believe in the future of solar sharing. Thank you.
はい、井上さんどうもありがとうございました。ソーラーシェアリングに始まり、ミツバチ、ジビエ。
Thank you, Ms. Inoue. Starting with the solar sharing to beekeeping to brewing shochu. This was a quite an insightful presentation from you. Thank you so much. And please stay on so that we can have you back in the panel discussion section. Next, we would like to go to the visiting researcher of AGIS Kansai, Mr. Ryuichi Ogawa. Thank you for the introduction. Please hold on until I can share the screen with you. So from me, I would like to talk about what's going on in city of Awaji. The Kansai Research Center is located in Hyogo Prefecture, and we are looking into what we can do with the abandoned farmlands and also how we can utilize or bring in the renewable energy and the synergy between those two. So I'm sure that not many of you know what the Awaji city is all about. So on the right-hand side is the map of Hyogo Prefecture, and as Ms. Inoue introduced, the pink part is the Takarazuka city. And the area that's surrounded by the red circle island, it's the city of Awaji, surrounded by sea. We have mountains, we have those terrace type rice paddies, and about 40,000 in population, and it's aging. We have onions and in the awaji beef and sea bream, and also it's quite famous as one of the tourist spots. Now, why we are doing this is to, the first of all, city of Awaji, we want to eliminate and prevent abandoned farmlands down to about 7%. And also sometimes we see in the news, the Awaji city has joined the zero carbon leading city, and we want to do is the about 1 megawatt by 2030 with the solar panels located in the farmlands. So this is the philosophy with which the Awaji city is acting upon, but the abandoned farmlands will continue to increase. So how we can use that to contribute to introduction of the renewable energy? Some of the studies that we did, we have a company called Salary, and they give us those satellite photos which allow us to analyze the land use. And using this data, which area on the city of Awaji, and also what's the percentage of the abandoned farmlands in these areas. So this is just times of a scale for the city of Awaji. We have about the 3,000 hectares of farmlands. Almost 20% of that has already abandoned the farming in these lands, and we expected that. But this acceleration is way beyond what the city itself had expected. So right now, we do not have to use all of these abandoned lands, but we have to find what's the appropriate land we can use, and we should be able to go to about 45 megawatts of electricity generation in the field solar panels. But there are some barriers. So first of all, we have to find lands with good sun light availability. And we looked at those lands, and some of those lands have gone back to being dilapidated wild woods and forests. Now you can see on the picture on the right-hand side, you can see some crops growing, but surrounding that little bit of a farm is all wild woods and forests. Now again, not only the lands along the mountain areas, we still have those areas with well cared for farmlands. But if you look at the red flame lands, on the satellite photo, it looks fairly clean and well managed. But if you go to the picture on the right hand side, as you can see, there are vegetations growing up to 2 meter high. So there is no way that they can actually cultivate this land. So first of all, we have to take care of the weeds and and cultivate the land so that they can go back to farming. And that is a very costly endeavor, but we need something that needs to be done right away. But on the other hand, this the farmland utilized renewable energy, its hurdles are quite high because some of the lands are not quite appropriate, although they might look clean on the satellite photos, but actually visiting the lands, you will find that they are dilapidated. And the other barrier is that we cannot find the people who are able to, who want to work these farmlands. And the younger farmers are concerned about any kind of a trouble with the landowners, and they say that if they install solar panels above the actual soil, they're concerned what that does to what that might do to the crops, and that means we need also some permission. So we have to promise them that we will return those lands back to the condition that they can work it. But it's very difficult to go through all of the red tape to get to that. So, we have to first go to the Hyogo prefecture and basically bow to them and say, we promise not to cause any problems. Now, these areas, first of all, are for farming, but still, its hurdle is quite high. The city of Awaji is working on the rather a more lenient regulations so that it will be easier for newcomers to start farming in these lands. But they still have to be qualified and satisfy all the requirements such as greeneries and how they have to come up with the land improvement plan. And so they need some intermediaries to work that. So FIT is the what we call the field the feed-in tariff. So right now it's about 11 yen plus tax right now. So the fit for the field farmland type generation, we have about the 40 yen, so which is about twice of the fixed price. But right now, the regular fit, the purchasing price is 10 yen. So again, you still have to go through a lot of red tape, but the field type solar and the farmland type generation must go head to head under the same conditions. And there's the investment risk as well. 10 million to 20 million for 5 kilowatt is about the initial investment. But that is a lot of money for agriculture and farmland workers. And we also have some special loans, and there are some subsidies, but the subjects of those subsidies are very limited. And also the new farmers, they have to satisfy some other strict requirements. So these are some of the problems, and because of this, many people stay away from this idea. So we can no longer just look at how much money or how much benefit this will give us. We have to change tack and look at different perspectives. So what direction should we aim for in the future? No superiority when viewed simply in terms of profit margin. So we have to change the perspective to business value judgment. So if you look at the two pictures, on the left is the self-consumption integrated house with insulated house. So this is a hot house type. And on the right-hand side, so we have the grazing land, and we set the solar panels above the grazing land on stilts. So this is a coexistence that the cows grazing in these lands can use the solar panels as a shades to escape the heat. Now, Now, if we rely on FITE price, the benefits will be absorbed by the metropolitan companies. But if we consider all this, the cost of sustainability and maintaining and managing the area, it's reasonable to sell electricity at a price higher than the fit price. So, like the picture on the right-hand side, we can coexist with the grazing cows because the cows will enjoy the shades. And by doing those tandem type of a project, it's a double benefits that we can enjoy. Now, for the farms in city of Awaji, there's actually a place where the volunteers help the harvest of onions. Now, Awaji onions are very renowned all over Japan, and there's Awaji beef and other brands in Awaji. So we think we can involve these other Awaji brands. So when you look at the agriculture power generation tandem projects, the values do not appear all in the FIT price. So again, we believe it's reasonable to sell electricity at a price higher than FIT price and still be beneficial. So if I summarize, how to create synergies between the agriculture and renewable energy is the question. And it's no longer enough to say, let me do only solar power generation. So we would like them to explore and build a positive relationship with the farmers. So the solar generation is no longer a hindrance or unnecessary stuff. So this is what the farmers think. They have a bad impression of the solar panels. So we should not just leave it at that, but we have all these cases so that we can explore with power generation companies how to use it for agriculture, and we should do that with the farmers. And altogether, think about what a sustainable region should be and we introduce it in a way that contributes to the reason. And for the government administrators, working as the intermediary between business operators through promoting the spread of local products and active deregulation, cooperating with the other departments such as welfare and immigrant communities, migrant communities, and urban planning. And we should be able to spread and broaden the renewable energy projects. Thank you so much for listening. Ogawa-san, thank you so much. So this concludes the presentation part of this section. We would like to move to the panel discussion. Again, audience of this session, if you have questions, please do use the Q&A function. Because of the time limitations, we may not be able to go over all the questions, but questions with more nice marks, we will get to that first. So in addition to those two presenters, as the commentator, we have Mr. Noriaki Suga from Director of Hyogo Prefecture. We would like to ask Suga-san first, your impression of those two presentations and your thinking on the solar generation.
兵庫県の環境部長の菅でございます。
This is Suga from Hyogo Prefecture. I listened to the presentation by Ajas Kawasaki and also Takarazuka Sumire. At the Hyogo Prefecture in 2050, we try to achieve carbon neutrality. So we are on the way to achieve that. So 2030, we would like to utilize the renewable energy that is 10 billion kilowatt hour. That is account for 30% of the entire electricity consumption. Currently, the percentage is 10%. So by 2030, we would like to increase that percentage to 30%. So that's our target. So with regard to the renewable energy, we really need to promote its introduction. However, 10 years ago in Japan, the FIT system started. When a FIT was introduced, the price was very, very high. So the solar panels was implemented and they were called mega solar. project. However, nowadays we can't find adequate land to set up solar panels. Therefore, we're exploring the possibility of utilizing the farmland to install solar panels. As we try to install the solar panels in the farmland, it is very important to have a win-win relationship between agriculture and a solar panel power generation. Therefore, in that sense, Takarazuka Sumida Electric Power Company shows a very advanced model. And also, AGES Kawasaki Research Center of AGES pointed out in depth the challenges that you might face in the way. That's all. Thank you very much. So as a prefecture, they are trying to pursue the win-win relationship between the photovoltaic power generation and farming. So at the very beginning, I would like to ask a question. So securing the farmers is very, very difficult because solar sharing is to protect agriculture. However, it's abandoned farmland, meaning it lacks the farmers. How do you secure the farmers? I think that is a very critical question which needs to be answered. So Inoue-san, Ms. Inoue, I have a question to you. So you are operating the citizens allotment farm. I believe that from the urban area, people would come to engage in farming. What types of people are involved in this? And also, how are you managing that farm? Also, the yields will be quite important because of the Agricultural Land Act. So how do you make sure there's sufficient yields? Thank you for the question. So the civilian citizens farm was implemented because we had always known that there's a lack of farming population. In order to have a breakthrough, it is very important to increase the number of people who are interested in farming. And I thought about where we can find such people. And then I came to the idea of operating the citizens allotment farm. Actually, some of the citizens are almost professional farmers. They are so skilled and they can teach others as to how to farm. And also those people have a different allotments at the different places. And so we are only growing sweet potatoes because of the yields. Because when we need to report the yields, we need to have a good yield. So rather than looking at the individual's yield, I thought we had to show to the authority that how much utilization is happening at the farmland. Actually, our allotment farm is enjoying a 100% usage. And there are a lot of citizens allotment farm, but only 60% is used and remaining 40% is almost deserted. But in our case, initially it was 50% empty, but now 100% usage has been achieved. So we are sort of showing that please look at this utilization rate. It's 100%. So to the MAP, Ministry of Agriculture, we are showing that this 100% of this land is used, but that needs to be reported by the landowner. So this managing this kind of farm is quite meddlesome. So we are very grateful for the landowners of taking that responsibilities. So this cumbersome administrative work is in place, but still it's very nice that more people are interested in this. And as they pursue more organic and natural way of farming, some people have started farming because they really like the idea of solar panels combined with the farmland, and those are the people who are very much experienced. But it took us 10 years to get to this point. So just having one person today newly joining will not lead to a massive new addition. But in order to promote this activity, we are joined by the universities And so Ryukoku universities have agricultural department, but the students who would come here had no experience of agriculture. So it's very nice way of promoting that. So you are operating this farmland to give people an opportunity to get interested in the farming. So what do other farm people think about this kind of initiative? Well, initially, when we spoke, our landlord spoke to other farmers saying, it's going to make money. Just growing rice will actually be a negative profit, but in order to make that a positive profit, you have to take a new initiative. And if you continue that for 20 years, you will benefit from the positive profit. So that's how people first got involved in this, and their awareness is changing. And what they are saying now is not only about money, they are talking about the continuity of the community, maintaining the community. They are hoping that the 20 years on, the community was still thriving, and they are realizing that adding something new is very, very important. And I'm very happy with that change. So we really need to demonstrate what could happen.
そういうふうに徐々に理解を深めていって、
So gradually, you have to raise the awareness of these people, and that is quite important for the sustainability of these regions and make people believe that. So you just have to keep your feet on firmly on the ground and just go forward one step at a time. That resonates with all of us. So we would like to ask Ogawa-san next. So Takarazuka's case study is that they use the citizens allotment farms to gather agriculture workers, but the city of Awaji must be a different story because it's an island and it takes some time for people from the city areas to come to Awaji to work the land. So could you give us your perspective? So thank you so much for that. Yes, the Citizens Farm is an option. It takes 1 hour from the Hyogo city and also Osaka. But I believe there are ways to invite these city people to Awaji because Awaji is one of the more famous tourist destinations. So when the tourists come to Awaji, we can entice them to see what we are doing and entice them to stay. And I believe there's another way for people to participate. In the city of Kobe, they have the next farmer system. So these are the people participating in citizens farm, and they give them an education to the next step to become a professional farmers. So for this, the professional farmers need a minimum of 1,000 square meters to open their farmlands, but people who have gone through the citizens farmer education program, the city of Kobe, this is land starting with the 100 square meters. And the young farmers in the city of Awaji, I have spoken to them at the several occasions. It's not that they are not interested in operating the farmlands agriculture, but they have a long standing relationship with the existing landowners, and they do not want to have any kind of trouble with them to work their land. So we were asking the administration to step in and come up with a new system to allow these people to work those new farmlands. It's called the Developing New Farmland System. Thank you so much for that comment. That was quite interesting to hear about what's going on in Kobe. So when it comes to securing farm workers, one of the questions is how you involve the people in the city areas, as well as how do you work with and change the mindset of the all-the-time farmers or the farm families who have worked around for generations. And the other question is a financial one, having to do with the fixed feed-in tariff, fixed price problems. So
しかも
when it comes to generating renewable energy at the farmlands, it needs to be locally produced and locally consumed. So can't really expect that much benefits or the profits, and that means the banks shy away from offering loans to these people. So that's another concern. But on the other hand, on a larger scale, to compare with the mega trend, there's the biodiversity and climate change, which have become two big topics or the subjects to tackle for the businesses as well. And in that vein, perhaps we can involve these businesses to work with the farmers and agriculture businesses to work on this. Inoue-san, do you have any comments? Yes, when we started, we had no money. And luckily for us, the prefecture came to us and said, what's your pain point? And we said, we have no money. And the prefecture said, why don't we give you a subsidiary? We became famous saying no to these subsidies. But our thinking was that we want no subsidies, but we would like a loan because we know we can make money if you allow us time to do that. And but we couldn't pay high interest rate, so the city worked with us to give us a special loan with low interest rate for this particular project. But when it comes to FIT, the Chiba prefecture, it took them a long time to get the financing, but because they kept at it, they were beginning to see more banks offering loans. But on the other hand, we always felt that we can always do something about the finance, but the bigger question was, who would buy our produces and who would buy the electricity that we generate? And that is why we went to the co-op electricity, because that's the biggest co-op in Japan. And we talked to them and said, because of your network and because of your size, you can talk to these people and please not talk about just produce, but talk about the electricity that we are generating in these farmlands. And they helped us. And I think things have begun to change because of that, including the shochu and also the other produces and food that we are making. We have to take the perspective of the consumers. We have to think about who buys these producers. You cannot go forward without looking what the consumers are demanding and what the consumers are thinking. I think as long as we can do that, we can make no mistake. Thank you so much. That's a very encouraging word. You can do something about the money anyway. It's very good to know. Now, Ogawa-san, we hear that the city of Awaji is looking into changing lots of regulations and rules. So when it comes to local produce, local consumption, what can we do? What can we do? Any ideas on that?
ト価格というのは発電事業の継続性がまず第一に来てお
Well,
り
it
ま
is
す。
very important to continue the power generation business when it comes to FIT system, and what kind of benefits brought to the local community is actually ignored. So I think one of the things we can do is to give a higher price. So not only focusing on the power generation business, you need to look at other benefits such as the utilization of the abandoned farmland. And then based on that fact, you should set up the better pricing, purchase pricing for the selling destination. Well, there's a Hokutendan in Awaji City. It is also the organization that would buy the power generated. The Hokudan would purchase that renewable energy, and then that will be supplied to the local community. So the benefits of the electricity will be circulated back to the local community. Another thing, sorry, can I continue? And also the prefecture has no interest loan, and they use the prefecture money. Prefecture money means the prefecture's taxpayers' money. So the local citizens would pay the tax, and that would tax would used to set up the power generation unit, and that power is coming back to the local community. And so everything is circulating within the local community, including the money. So that is very effective. Now, Mr. Suga, finally, I would like to invite you to comment following the comments from other panelists. As a prefecture of Hyogo, do you have any ideas as to how to further promote solar sharing? Thank you. Ogawa-san of IJS has said that when it comes to money, circulating the money within the local community is quite important. Japan is very much dependent on overseas energy. And so the payment to such energy is actually flow out of Japan. Therefore, what is desirable is to circulate the energy-related money within that local community. However, how can we achieve that? One of the ideas we are entertaining is to look at the carbon footprint. So as you produce agricultural products, you need to look at the emissions during that growing period. By visualizing that, to make it visible, well, maybe the consumer may need some time to get educated to purchase the less GHG emitting produce. However, the food manufacturer, food companies are interested in that kind of matter. So for example, in Kobe, there's a sake breweries, and they are using rice with less GHG emission. So the agricultural crops with less carbon footprint will gain more attractiveness going forward. And certainly we need to think about the usage of electricity, but with solar sharing, you can utilize the farmland, and the power generated there can be utilized. And that could be the reason for choosing that power based on the carbon footprint reasoning. And that could be one of the reasons for promoting the solar sharing. Thank you very much for that. So from the consumer's viewpoint, he made the comment to talk about how crops are sustainable, and we really need to raise the awareness. However, in order to raise awareness, we need to have a visualization of a carbon footprint. Now, we actually received one question from the audience. It seems the person who asked this question is a landowner. I'm an agricultural landowner in an urbanization control area of about 500 tsubo. In order to attract the farming there, how much actually space is needed to interested potential of farming people? So what would be the scale of solar sharing that you would require at the minimum? 500 tsubo, meaning that about 1,500 square meters. 1,500 square meters would accommodate 500 kilowatt unit. And even with that unit, there is still an remaining land. So it could allow you to grow rice as well. And you could consume the electricity by yourself, or you can find a partner. And then you could really have a good business model that would produce profit. So the size-wise, I think it's quite sufficient. Thank you very much. Hopefully that answers to the question. From the Philippines, we received the question. お願いします。
So these projects are very innovative, and I'm sure with the other countries, we would like to take after that. Do you have any materials in English that we can refer to? Seems that the policies regarding agriculture is always put on the back burner in many of the governments. So we need some specific examples to work. So I think this has to do with the solar sharing as well. So Ms. Inoue, one more time. So I felt that, I expected that we will get the questions. So we have the solar sharing general publics association, and there's the similar association in Chiba Prefecture, and I am one of the directors, and there are white papers, and we also work with people from the overseas. So there are home pages, and we have archives with these documents translated as well. But in actuality, I believe this is a hotter topic overseas rather than the domestic Japan. We feel that the many people overseas feel this is the way to go for the future, and that really gladdens our heart. Uh, and we are working on the policy side too. So we work with the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Forestry to go with this. Thank you so much. We are running out of time, so I would like to ask each of the panelists to say a few words about your expectations and projections regarding solar sharing. So we would like to start with the Director Suga first. Thank you. So in terms of spread the renewable energy, um, when we start the discussion, many people agree with that. But when we actually get to formulating the action plans, many people sort of hit the wall there. And as we saw in the Ms. Inoue's solar sharing examples, I think there are many case studies that we can study, and that is very encouraging for us. We in the government administration side would like to continue to support. Next, Ogawa-san, please. So generation operators and the agricultural workers, the farmers, they have to be more proactively involving each other, right? So farmers and the power generators, if they only look at the, make products or make produce and make money, or make electricity and make money, that's waste of a lot of possibilities. So those two sides must get involved, and we would like the government administration to be also proactive and get in the middle to work as a bridge and a facilitator to do this. Now, for the farmers all over Japan to generate their own power and consume their own power so that they can continue to produce and continue to be lucrative in their agriculture, I think that would be very important for the younger generations who are coming up. To conclude, Inoue-san, please. Yes, when we started, there were no role models, or there were no case studies that we can refer to. But people ask for reference and case studies, but we are into insistently and continuously evolving and changing. So when you go to the farmlands or other local areas, people often go to go talk to so and so and do such and such first to see what happens. And our stance was that in the onset, we just didn't have time to do that. Look at all those lands going dilapidated. Do you have no more time to waste? You have no time to waste to go talk to somebody, look for case studies. Look what you can do with what you have. Solar sharing has so much potential. It originated in Japan, but we are falling behind compared to the others. We have to work harder. We will make our own food. We will generate our own electricity, and that time is already here. It's not in the future. And solar sharing is the first step. Now, you have to link all this to your children. If you don't do this now, there is no future for the children. That is the most important message. Thank you so much. What a strong and encouraging message from all of you. Yes, the urban areas and the agricultural areas must collaborate together to create the local circulating economy. And I think all the presentations and all the statements made by the panelists will lead us all to that future. Now, thank you so much for all the panelists who have participated in this session. Thank you so much. So ISAP 2022 will go on until December 5th. So we will, I'm sure, see you in the other sessions. One more request to make before I close this session. After the session, there will be a questionnaire or a QR code that will get you to the questionnaire to evaluate this session. So please help us with that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes this session. Thank you so much.